Dur cool shewa piwa samu stemta. Inen nan finua tawat. Inen nan finua hadu. Wa inen ata hamudmul. Lia salakuna. Ilul numus Anunnaki Nitirats. Not forgetting Chief Black Eagle Thunderbird, without which he would not have been here. This being who has changed the life of millions around the world. And with that, we the indigenous people walk to the future in the footprints of our ancestors. From the smallest to the largest living beings. From the four directions, the air, the waters, the mountains, and the land. The Creator has placed us, the indigenous people, upon our mother, the earth.
Rahubat indigenous gods and goddesses of this land, ka-iri, wa Aloubera, MISNOMER Trinidad and Tobago. We are the royal family of ka-iri. We are the supreme grand three-generational matriarchy. I am the Honorable Empress Hatshepsut. I am Chiefess Rising Cobra, also known as the Wadjet Chiefess. The Wadjet, as we all know, was on the Pharaoh's Namuz, right? This Cobra represents divinity, sovereignty, divine protection, and royal authority on this land. We are the royal family of ka-iri. I am Empress Hatshepsut.
Rahubat, brothers and sisters, I am Empress Asset.
Rahubat, I am Kenimet Ma'at Kifa, Grand Matriarch of the Zai Yamasee Nation, also known as Katuri and Ma'at ka-iri.
This is a global announcement. Notices sent in registered mail to the Trinidad and Tobago CEO, Rowley, and his agents. We have our registered mail cards here. This is our advice of receipt showing receipt and proof that the CEO of Trinidad and Tobago and his agents receive our notice, right? This notice was sent to Rowley, it was sent to Christine Kangaloo, it was sent to Erla Christopher, it was sent to Alvin Hille, Clive Clark, and also Darrell Daniel, right? So it's Darrell Daniel from the TNT Defense Force, Clive Clark, License Officer, Commissioner, Alvin Hille, Central Bank Chairman, Policy Enforcer, Erla Christopher, President Christine Kangaloo, and the CEO of the corporation Trinidad and Tobago, Rowley. This is our Zai Yamasee Nation Declaration.
First Nation, Zai Yamasee Nation Declaration, right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding, indigenous autochthonous people, earnest ears of the land. Zai Yamasee Nation Declaration for ka-iri, wa Aloubera, MISNOMER Trinidad and Tobago. We, the indigenous autochthonous people of Zai Yamasee Nation, are the divine earnest ears of the land. We are descendants of our ancient ancestors of the Norborn, Olmecs, Washita, Moors, Pygmies, Yamasee, Nez Perce, Mandan, and so on. We are in papaya person, and we are the inheritors of the land and are executing all of our indigenous rights now. We the people, the indigenous autochthonous people, declare Vatican rejection of the doctrine of discovery, a 500-year-old Catholic decree that was used to justify the seizures of indigenous lands by colonial powers. Geneva, the 6th of April 2023, UN experts hails Vatican rejections of the doctrine of discovery and urges states to follow suit. The Papal doctrine was used to claim indigenous territories in the Americas, Africa, and other parts of the world. The doctrine continues to have a negative impact on the full enjoyment of indigenous rights by indigenous peoples in some countries. It deprives indigenous people of their rights to titles and ownership of their traditional lands and territories by states that continues to use this legal theory as part of their national law, legislation, jurisprudence, particularly in relation to land disputes. Trinidad and Tobago is a foreign corporation on indigenous soil, ka-iri wa Aloubera. registered by the Crown. The British Commonwealth Registered Corporation, Dun and Bradstreet numbers
01628492000 and 084514511700. That is the Dun and Bradstreet numbers. Also, if you go on Google and you type in the Crown Corporation, you would see 0759733392 dissolved on the 20th of November 2012. Right? If you type in Crown Corporation Limited, you would see this number 111-66927 dissolved on the 10th of September 2019. Also, if you type in numbers for the corporation, the USA, you will see that they dissolved on 2017. There was a corporation last when Obama was in charge of that corporation, right? So as you can see, we are all living in an illusion. The corporation is no more. Everything is dissolved.
Right. So, to all citizens holding and acting in such political offices and public figures, government officials, representatives, agents and servants, let it be known to you that the Corporation Trinidad and Tobago as a corporate entity has no legitimate government functions. Regina versus Jacques, case number T21077746-1. Regina is the so-called Queen Elizabeth who was proven to be a fraud. On the 12th of May 2011 at Southwark Crown Court, the First England Grounds at Southwark, London, England, defendant John Anthony Hall in the United Kingdom proved before an English jury that Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor was not the rightful monarch and never was. This was a two-part argument. First, that Elizabeth knew both then and now, when she died, that she was crowned on a fake coronation stone, which meant not only was she never properly crowned, but secondly, she knowingly and fraudulently conned the public up until the time she passed away. And this is why she did not want her coronation televised. This includes all of her descendants, Charles III. Notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. Organization of the American States on the 15th of June 2016, after nearly 30 years of advocacy and negotiations, the Organization of American States ratified the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, ADRIP. The OAS is a regional intergovernmental organization of 35 member countries of the Americas, including the United States. The American Declaration offers specific protection for indigenous people in North America, Mexico, Central, South America, and the Caribbean. It affirms the right of self-determination, self-government, culture, lands, territories, natural resources, health, and the rights to education. It includes a provision that addresses the particular situation of indigenous people in the Americas. The Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Chapter 1, the recognition and protection of fundamental human rights and freedom. Rights enshrined, recognized, and declared of rights and freedom. Declaration of Rights and Freedom. It is hereby recognized and declared that in Trinidad and Tobago, they have existed and shall continue to exist without discrimination by reason of race, origin, color, religion, or sex, the following fundamental human rights and freedoms, namely, the right of the individual to life, liberty, security of the person, and enjoyment of property, and the right not to be deprived thereof except by the due process of law. The rights of the individual to equality before the law and the protection of the law. The right of the individual to respect for his private and family life. The rights of the individual to equality of treatment from the public authority in the exercise of any functions. Freedom of movement, freedom of conscious and religious belief and observance, freedom of thought and expression, freedom of association and assembly, and freedom of express. Zayamasi Nation knows that there is no law that gives any corporation and foreign entity such as Trinidad and Tobago the rights or jurisdiction over indigenous people. We are First Nation, the original owners and inheritors of the landmass island called ka-iri and Aloubera, the corporate state must pay tax to Zai Yamasee Nation. Notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. Zai Yamasee Nation Declaration. Land, space, air, and sea created is entrusted to the indigenous people of the earth. We, the people of the indigenous people, have priority and power over anything and anyone that is a foreign entity. Zai Yamasee Nation is the custodians, creditors, and inheritors of the land ka-iri wa Aloubera. Any property owned by each of the tribe members of Zai Yamasee Nation, such as automobiles, lands, house, natural resources, boats, planes, sweat equity, trading products, import, export, etc., are not subject to taxation or violation by your corporate state. Notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. Zai Yamasee Nation knows that by nature we are a free people, and neither slaves nor involuntary servants to any, save ourselves, and only in the case of a punishment of a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted by a court and a jury of his or her peers. That is, a member of the Zai Yamasee Nation, which is and are their only peers, being of the same genetic, historical, and indigenous origins. The word peer, according to the American Heritage Dictionary, means a person who has equal standing with another or other as in rank, class, or age. Protection. We, the Zai Yamasee Nation, have the inalienable right to take necessary means within our own laws, as he or she sees fit to be secure in our person as well as our property, families, friends, and personal effect. We will have our own security and military forces. Traveling. All tribe members of Zai Yamasee Nation, being indigenous people, are not subjected to any political codes. We reserve all our inalienable rights to travel our ancestral lands by using the roadways, highways, byways, waterways, and airways unhindered. All tribe members of Zai Yamasee Nation will have an indigenous tribal cards, indigenous declaration, and nation declaration when traveling from place to place, so as not to be mistaken for citizens. Notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. Zai Yamasee Nation documents. We have the Constitution of Zai Yamasee Nation, the indigenous tribal cards, indigenous declarations, and the facts of incarnation, non-disclosure and confidentiality agreement.
Notice the agent is notice the principal, and notice the principal is notice the agent. Okay, so I will just read a little excerpt from our constitution. Our constitution is 100 plus pages, but I will just read a few words here for you all, indigenous peoples of this land, ka-iri wa Aloubera. Right, and it begins with the Constitution of an Indigenous Autochthonous Sovereign Peoples, Zai Yamasee Nation, by the Supreme Grand Matriarchy of the Nowborn, which is the Olmec, Washita, Mer, the Twa, which is the Pygmy, Yamasee, Seminole, Creek, Shoshone, Nez Perce, Kalinago, also known as the Carib, Taino, also known as the Arawak, and many more tribes, taken in part from the Constitution of the United Nubian Nation of Moors, drafted by our Chief Black Eagle, His Excellency, His Royal Highness Naya Malachi Zodok York L. Right. This constitution is the Constitution of Zai Yamasee Nation, an indigenous autochthonous sovereign people of the land and of the planet Tiamat, now called Earth. To any Euro-American or European or corporate state that wishes to violate this constitution, know this. A constitution is defined in the fourth edition of Black Law Dictionary as such: the organic and fundamental law of a nation or state, which may be written or unwritten, establishing the character and conception of its government, laying the basic principles to which its internal life is to be conformed, organizing the government and regulating, distributing and limiting the functions of its different departments, and prescribing the extent and manner of the exercise of sovereign powers, a charter of government deriving its whole authority from the governed. We affirm that to refuse to understand another's culture is to refuse your own. We must never be so small-minded as to hold prejudice. We must instead seek to understand those who would attempt to harm us. The latter not understanding that all peoples contribute to the diversity and richness of civilization and cultures, which constitute the common heritage of humankind, and that any form of assimilation or integration by other cultures or way of life imposed in indigenous peoples by legislative, administrative, or other pleasures the races scientifically false, legally invalid, morally condemnable, and socially unjust. Respect for indigenous knowledge, cultures, and traditional practices contributes to sustainable and equitable development and proper management of the environment. A written constitution comprises the fundamental laws of nature, which ensures justice, liberty, and freedom, domestic tranquility, general welfare, and common defense. It comprises laws governing the political, economical, and social function of a nation. The spiritual, cultural, and educational qualities are based on the positiveness of this nation's government, as well as the government of existing indigenous nations. We affirm the fact that Zayamasi Nation don't have to be freed. We were never slaves. The word slave comes from the term Slavic, of which it originated, for dear captives. This is the weapon which they coined to steal our birthrights, identity, achievements, and even our zeal for life. The pains, the cruelties, the unnecessary murders, the lynching, the castration, the stealing of our lands, kidnapping, rapes, the raw suffrage and torturing of our ancestors are still going on today and is felt today by us, their descendants, mentally, spiritually, and physically. The facts cannot be altered. This corporate state is destructive to us. Truth. We the people must know the truth of ourselves, our story, which predates his story, and our language, culture, and our relation to the ancient ones. We must become truthful when dealing with each other, and must live by and stand for truth and nothing but the truth. So be it. By language, we mean Nuwabic, the ancient language of our ancestors, the language of our choice, created and recreated for us by our great Maku, Malachi, Zodok, York, El. By history, our story. We mean that our ancestors, the Norborns, which you all know as the Olmec of Ghana, who moved westward to become the Olmec Yamasees, native of this very land. We have chosen our cultural identity and refer to ourselves as Nuwabian. In our culture, Nuwabu, and our language, Nuwabic. Let it be known to all that this is who we were and are and shall be referred to today as henceforth. We, the people of Zayamasi Nation, by way of the Supreme Grand Master Naya Malachi Zodok York El, hereby declare our right to self-determination, the right to autonomy or self-governance in matters relating to our internal and local affairs, including culture, religion, information, education, media, health, housing, employment, social welfare, economic activity, land and resources, management, environment, financial security and welfare. freedom. We, the people, know that by nature we are a free people and are neither slaves nor involuntarily servants to any, save ourselves, and only in the case of a punishment of a crime whereof the party shall have been only convicted by a court and a jury of his or her peers. That is a member of Zayamasi nation, which are their only peers, being of our same genetic, historical, and indigenous, autochthon, sovereign origin. The word peer, according to the American Heritage Dictionary, means peer, a person who has equal standing with another or others, as in rank, class, or age. Middle English from Old French, peer, per, from Latin par. The meaning of the word is found in the root word, and it means equal. We are not all equal. So my peers would have to be equal to me, my own tribal status. No corporate state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunity of Zayamasi nation, nor shall any corporate state deprive the indigenous, autochthonous, sovereign peoples of life, liberty, or property that is theirs or ours by rights. We, the people, must reinstill in our people the realities that success and succession comes from cooperation and participation. We must work together to accomplish goals that will result in our success as a people. We must support each other in all matters of life. We must learn to depend on trust, respect, and assist one another. In order to succeed in any and all of our undertakings, we must utilize our highest potential. We must learn to proceed through blockages, over hurdles, and through trenches that are set up to hinder our progress, growth, and success by those who fear our ability of self-rule, government, determination, and productivity as a people. The disagreeable beings, be they force or human, spends much time trying to deceive us into thinking less of ourselves and our kind. We must be vivid, not vague, about our goals for ourselves as indigenous, autochthonous, sovereign nation, and put full effort in making the best of our time and substance, skills, talents, education in order to be a successful nation. Law. We the people must not make nor accept any laws that do not pertain to us as a people by nature. We are not to respect laws made, forced, or enforced upon us by those who do not have our best interests, health, welfare, or wealth in mind. We are to avoid religious restrictions and laws that have not to date been proven beyond any doubt to have been inscribed by or some supernatural being for us, to help us. We are not to obey any laws made by or between any people while we were in captivity or being held against our will. Laws made by the settler and his own people, not us, the indigenous, autochthonous, sovereign peoples. We, Zayamasi nation, have the inalienable right to take necessary means within our own laws as we see fit to secure our beings as well as our tribal lands. We, Zayamasi nation, have the inalienable right to demarcate our traditional territories. The definition of territory includes space, which is air, land, and sea. We, Zayamasi nation, must promote traditional analysis of traditional land rights in all our territory. All tribe members of the free and indigenous Zayamasi nation of this hemisphere hereby reserve our unalienable rights to educate ourselves, meaning our men, women, and offsprings of Zayamasi nation. For we are the best qualified to teach our story, culture, art, and science. Alright, so this is copyright here. This statute specifically covers and protects any and all written, artistic, and or otherwise creative works. Since one's creativity stems from one's natural ability and each individual having a natural creativity, it would be unnatural to assume that two or more individuals cannot have the same idea or similar ideas. Therefore, it is logical to understand that the only determining factor in any dispute of that which comes first must be the chronological order meaning what was dated first. So under this statute, Zayamasi Nation reserves the unalienable right to copyright our own works. This especially covers all Zayamasi Nation identification, facts of incarnation, tribal cards, our language, indigenous declaration, nation decks, our sovereign reclaims, etc. Our flag, our most holy flag, no misuse, abuse, desecration of Zayamasi Nation flag will be tolerated. It is left up to the tribe to act accordingly within our laws pertaining to our most holy flag. Zayamasi Nation reclaims the following 9 principles. Our ancient gods and goddesses, Aset, Asar, etc. Our tribal roots, lineage, Olmec, Pygmy, Yamasi, Kalinago, Taino, etc. Our nationality, Mer. Our language, Nuopic. Our culture, Nuabu. Our indigenous, autochthonous sovereign rights and lands. Our cultural attire. Our flag, as you all can see, our flag, the main colors being green, gold, white, with the feather of Ma'at, feather of Hatshepsut, the mighty throne of Aset, the sun disk of Hathor, and the Hua symbol in the middle. That is our most holy flag, right? Our story and our education. This is a warning to any other peoples and nations, inclusive of the corporate states. Know that to violate our constitution is to violate the drafted Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. E/CN4/sub 2/194/2/ADD1 groups at its 121 session and the Indigenous People Earth Center, which was adopted at the drafted Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. E/CN4/sub 2/194/2/ADD/1/94 Part 5. Article 31 and 36. We declare that all contents herein is in accord with United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, UNDRIP, and we have a link with UNDRIP here. American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, which is the ADRIP. The UN International Decade for People of African Descent. The United Nations Charter, Article 55 and 56. Presidential Proclamation 7500 HJR 194 S CON RES 26.S 1200 HJR-3 brackets age dot J31 age brackets, right? Inen Atakul Fikolum, we are all in all. Right, and standing besides us, because you know it must have a balancement here, is 2 of our honorable tribe members. Right, we have the Honorable Keru Meduti L, right? And then we have the Honorable Amenhotep Zapinat Pania ka-iri Atumre, right? They are also our tribal marshals, right? Yes, we are with the matriarchy being the head marshal, so yes. Right, so Wadua everyone. Wadua.